Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby.
I've been working on getting this podcast for a very long time. This is a very, very, very busy cat that we are interviewing today. His name is Nodak Breaks. Nodak Breaks is a viral sensation when it comes to the TikTok world. And when I went to conduct the podcast, to talk to Nodak, he invited me over to his place, and it is the Taj Mahal when it comes to autographed memorabilia. I didn't get an exact count on how many helmets, jerseys, footballs, posters he has, but it's well over, I would say, 500 helmets at least, and like the best players ever on each of these helmets. Jim Brown, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, all of the GOATs. It was a petting zoo when it comes to memorabilia of GOATs. Like, it was the best. So appreciate Nodak. Make sure you check him out. He's doing a lot of big things. Nodak Breaks on TikTok, and it was just fun to sit down and talk with him and kind of learn the ins and outs of the business when it comes to merchandise and memorabilia, things of that nature, and appreciate his time. And it was a lot of fun for me because I love that kind of stuff and that world. But before we get to Nodak Breaks, we got to talk about our sponsors because they make our world go round. And the first one is PSP Network. It's game day. They've been promoting local student athletes for a very long time. And right now they're in the heart of men's and women's hockey and also men's and women's basketball. It's that big, busy part of the season. Wintertime is here. Why not cozy up and watch a little PSP Network? Check out their scheduled events on their website, psp.network, or on YouTube at PSP Network. Nick Holberg and his team do a great job on bringing things to you rather than you having to travel in the wintry weather, whatever the case might be. So make sure you subscribe to PSP Network on YouTube and also check out psp.network. Thank you, PSP. Next up is Glosso Angus. Oh, I love Glosso Angus. Glosso Angus, a proud sponsor of swim lessons. They are your premier source for registered Black Angus cattle since 1973. Glosso Angus cattle showcase dominance, durability, and my favorite word, docility, and they are built to thrive on the northern plains. Check out Glosso Angus. That's GLASOE Angus.com. Next sponsor is River's Edge Bar and Grill. They are known for offering the best happy hour in town, providing unbeatable deals and a lively atmosphere. Guests can also enjoy a variety of entertaining activities, including bingo, trivia, and the very popular Name That Tune. Come on down to River's Edge for great drinks and great food and great fun. Located in Williston, North Dakota, check out River's Edge Bar and Grill. Next up is Fancy Panda Design, an independently owned design studio that specializes in branding, logo design, and marketing. At Fancy Panda, we focus on adding value into your business to be as successful as possible. Deliberately distinctive design. Get fancy with Fancy Panda. Appreciate Fancy Panda. Next up is BSN Sports. Since 1972, BSN Sports has helped sports teams look their best as they strive for their goals and dreams. They provide apparel, uniforms, and equipment for teams in nearly every sport. Local service with a national reach, that is BSN Sports. Contact your local BSN Sports representative for more information. BSN Sports is a proud sponsor of Swim Lessons, the podcast. And then the next one, the last one, I really appreciate these guys. I'm going to be joining them in the booth a little bit. And that is Game Day Media, more than a game. Your leader in live video sports coverage in Northwest North Dakota. At Game Day Media, our goal is to expose, support, and promote the best athletes that North Dakota has to offer. Subscribe to our channel at Game Day Media ND on YouTube. Find us on Facebook at Game Day Media for schedules, quick links to games, and stats. Everything you need to know about that local favorite student athlete of yours. Also, when you're looking at that, make sure you enable alerts on YouTube so you know when we go live, and watch for upcoming events we host at Game Day Media. Appreciate all those sponsors, and appreciate everybody that listens. This was a fun one for me. I'm a big sports memorabilia guy, so getting a chance to talk to one of the more premier names when it comes to sports memorabilia was a big key to me. So thank you to Nodak Breaks for inviting me, and enjoy Nodak Breaks. Nodak, it's good to see you, man.
Hey, it's good to have you here, man.
Thank you for inviting me to what I would call the Taj Mahal of autographed memorabilia. I mean, like, this is hands down the most merch I've seen in any place, any house.
It's crazy how 2 years of being a breaker and just how I have access to a lot more than normal people would, I guess you can say, because I open it. Some people are not a fan of it and they're like, hey, what would you do for that? And I'm like, I got this and that, and we make some really cool deals and everyone's happy at the end of it. And I love football and all the old school players. So I have quite the collection now.
Well, let's get into that, because I met you through a mutual friend that we have.
Yep.
You're on TikTok a lot. How did you get into breaking, and what made you be like, okay, this is because you had a day job before this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you were like, okay, I kind of wanted to get into this. I like merchandise. I like the way this goes. Let's go down this avenue.
Yeah. So actually I had a day job working for the government, and I had a business for carpentry. So I had two things going on. We moved here. My wife is active duty military. So
appreciate that.
Yeah. She's awesome. She's always been there, super supportive, which we'll get into it on this story. So we moved here from Texas. I was doing woodworking down there a lot. I got my job working for the government. I was the youth sports director at the youth center. Loved that job. I would get off of work. I would come home and jump in the garage and start doing woodworking, cutting boards. I'd do the furniture. I did whatever people wanted, really. But, being up here in Minot in winter, being in a garage when it's negative 60 outside, and not being able to feel my hands, it was kind of a safety issue. And I was like, okay, well, I need something to do.
Not being able to feel my hands.
Yeah, it became a safety issue. So I was like, all right, well, what can I do that's going to really keep me busy, keep me engaged? I love playing video games, but I would get lost in video games. I would play a whole day of video games and just feel like I was incomplete. I didn't feel like I got anything accomplished that day. So I always try to, stay busy. The side hustle, if you will, was always something that I really enjoyed. So yeah, that turned into, all right, what am I going to do? I ran into a breaker on TikTok. They were doing like cards. So it all started with cards with me. Memorabilia was never on the board. I didn't know that it was going to come to that. So I started breaking cards. I went to my wife and I said, hey, I think I want to do this instead of being in a garage in the winter. And she's like, well, I don't get it, but I trust you, and I know that the work ethic's there. If it can be done, it will be done. So I started doing breaks with cards. Kind of was a slow build up, and then I found it's called we called it the dice game. I don't know if you ever.
Oh yeah, that was the best. That's what kind of made you famous.
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't say famous.
I would say famous.
I wouldn't go that far, but in the realm, it kind of brought me to the forefront. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
That really propelled me. That was kind of a cheat code almost, because I was late to the game. 2020 is when the boom happened. Everybody was locked up for COVID, and everyone started collecting again. And it was like, 2022 is when I kind of got into it, late 2022. So I was like kind of already behind the curve when it came to building up and doing that. So started the dice game, and I think only 2 other breakers were doing it at the time. And
how did you figure out how to do the dice game?
So yeah, I was just scrolling through TikTok and I saw a guy doing it, and I was like, I messaged him like, hey, this is really cool, and I'm one, if I see something and I'm gonna, try to pull from that person, I say, hey, is it cool if I try this? And, he was like, yeah. And his treasure box he's a breaker out there, still a friend of mine. And he's like, yeah, man, go for it. And, he was really cool about it. We kind of helped each other back and forth, figuring out ideas. And there was another guy that was doing it that just hated both of us because we were doing it. He wanted to be the only one. I'm not going to say his name, but yeah, Treasure Box Breaks. He was really cool about it. Kind of got me into it. And then, I've always been one to try to be as innovative as possible. I, make the prizes better, make the setup better. I always take pride in my setup, and I think that shows, with the people coming in, and, everyone's like, hey, sick setup, no matter where, or, it's always evolving for me. I'm always changing it up. So the dice game kind of propelled me to the front line. And that brought me to Divine Breaks. I don't know if you remember Divine.
Mm-mm.
So I was working with a company, Divine Breaks. Shout out to Divine. He's still out there watching, I'm sure. Kind of had a group of breakers. He would supply them with cards, eventually memorabilia. We would break it. It would all go to a website. There was no TikTok shop back then. So
okay.
Yeah, this is all the Wild Wild West is what we called it. So I signed up with him. He got me a massive amount of supplies. And then I was just able to go, and I was working for the government, and then that would rotate into getting home, doing all my shipping from the night before, going live, rolling dice for, man, I would say 6 hours, sometimes 2 or 3 in the morning, waking up at 7:30, going to work, doing it again.
Oh,
So he was like, hey, I think you need to do this full time. I think this is something you need to really consider. So we worked out a deal where I was able to still walk away from my government job. He guaranteed me salary plus commission, and it worked out pretty well. 6 months later, Divine kind of dissolved. There's a lot of it's a lot to try to keep up with 8 breakers and the demands of the supplies and the egos, if you will. We all have egos. Nobody, even if no one wants to admit it, every breaker wants to be the best breaker. So that kind of came through, and then I was kind of jobless, if you will. Not really, but I mean, I can go live and sell. I could sell Ice Cube to an Eskimo. So it's not something that I knew was long term. I wasn't worried about figuring out what to do. I was just trying to make the right move and kind of bring in a business partner that I trusted and that I knew was going to be able to help. So I did find that. I met him at National. We had a sit down. We went through, hey, I'm not one that likes to overcharge, so we can make a deal, but we're gonna split, or we're gonna the price is gonna stay here. However we work, what we do with our money after that is fine, but I don't, it was in the contract. I don't want to ever go above a certain percentage, because I know a lot of breakers were out there just destroying people on pricing. So he's like a brother to me now. I do have an NDA, so I won't bring his name up or anything like that, but it's been very beneficial. He does a lot of work on the sidelines that no one sees for me, all the lawyer work. I have 5 companies that only make a certain product for me, so all of that product, it's under contract, can't make it for anyone else. So that kind of just led into, all right, what's next? When we met at National, we had a contract in place. I came back. We started doing repacks. So dice game kind of died out, right? Obviously, it's kind of already taboo, and everyone knew it wasn't going to be forever. So I was already making moves to line myself up for the next thing. Did you ever see our Break Saver series?
Oh, yeah.
So the Break Savers is kind of what really propelled, I would say the dice game put me on the scene. Break Savers really propelled me up into, okay, TikTok now sees me. We now have the shop, right? TikTok sees what we're doing in sales and volume of orders, and that skyrocketed overnight, damn near. Just the way we were, because nobody was really breaking it the way I started to break it. And so I was doing a few other repacks, and repacks weren't massive yet, but they were relevant. They were always relevant, but they weren't like, they didn't take over.
Yeah, not the top.
They weren't, because we had like hit parades we were doing in my old stream, and it was fun, but it was always like, you kind of felt a lot more people felt like they were losing than winning in that situation, for sure, because it was like we were doing divisionals, and even some of the guys that won were losing, and I'm like, all right, this isn't it. Nothing against hit parade, but it just didn't feel, and that's also part of the pricing, working with certain companies, as a breaker, working with the company, not the distributor.
Right.
So that was part of my problem, is I think we're charging too much for this. Nobody can really win here. So that was another problem. But we turned to Break Savers. I was breaking another product, and they came in the room, and I had saw his product in another live. I said, hey, I'm always one to bring people up more than bring people down. I would never badmouth people on my live or anything like that. So I was like, hey, man, I love your product. It's a great product. And he said, hey, let's talk. So the next morning we got on the phone, and we had a 4-hour conversation. I said, here's my vision. Yeah. Oh,
dude,
man. If people understood how long I was on the phone talking to people when I'm not live, distributors, people with ideas, other breakers, trying to just help them. And I've been a mentor for, I think, probably 40 to 50 breakers at some point in time, even if it was just a brief little stints where they needed that guidance, like, hey, I don't think I can do this anymore. And I'm like,
what do you say to them then?
I mean, it's always, listen, it's if you believe you can't make it, you won't make it. If you think, or if you know for a fact, no matter what, there's a space for me in this hobby, you're going to make that happen. There's no one can tell you can't do it. If you're telling yourself you can't do it, I mean, this is life, right?
Yeah.
If you don't think you can do it, you can't do it. So
Where'd you develop that mindset at?
man, so we're gonna go on this other journey real quick. So my mom and dad divorced when I was like 6 months old.
Okay.
My mom then remarried. My stepdad, great guy. His dad, family wise, I've always popped around and moved around. I can I can label off where I've lived my whole life, and people just go, wow, like it's crazy how much I've had to move because they were both military. So I was a military brat, and then, them being divorced and kind of popping around a lot. But my stepdad's dad, which I just called my grandpa, I think I was 11. He was up there in New Hampshire, Rye Beach, New Hampshire. He was running a hotel and cottage. So, I was kind of just little bratty 11-year-old, didn't know nothing, right? So he was like, hey, send him to me for the summer. I was down there in Virginia, Norfolk. And, I didn't think of anything. He was like, you want to make some money? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I would go up there, and there was about 15 hotel rooms on a straight line. And there was about 15 cottages that were like individual little, I keep hitting it. There were individual little cottages that, people would stay a few nights in the hotel and they would need to be cleaned out. And then people would do like weekly to, a couple days in the cottages. And this was on about 4 acres out there. And this is summertime. It's beautiful out there. So I get sent out there, and he's like, all right, well, wake up time's 4:30. Yeah. And I'm like, what?
Oh, here
I've
we
never
go.
woke up that early in my life.
How
He's
old
like,
were you?
I was 11.
Oh my.
Yeah. So he's like, wake up time's 4:30. He's like, you'll be off around 5 o'clock, and you can do whatever you want after that. Well, I would get off at 5 and just be cooked.
Oh.
So I'm just like laying there, and this is 1995-ish, so MTV was like the only TV channel that came on my little TV, and I had this little room. I mean, it was also like, it was fun because I wasn't with mom and dad. Like I was just out, and I really was just like, he just really made me be responsible. He's like, you're in charge of, making sure you get your food, make sure your laundry's done. Like, he's like, I'm not doing anything for you. You're here to work, and you're here to make sure you're good. So, I would work, I would get up at 4:30, start with the hotel rooms that checked out, start with, and then I'd have to do all the landscaping too. So once a week, I had to make sure all 4 acres were properly groomed.
Wow.
And then on top of that, at the end of the night, even when I was off, I would have to go out. I was chopping wood. I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I would go out, chop wood, get the fire started. Well, me and grandpa then would go down to everybody would be out in the campfire. Well, there was like a marsh there was a bay behind us. We would go out and sit and just kind of look out at the bay and just talk. And he would have these conversations with that, I kind of caught on to what he was doing once I was older, but at the time I didn't know, and we would talk about respect. We would talk about, planning your future, getting your mindset where it really needed to be. And as an 11-year-old, I didn't realize it, but he was really developing me just to be successful in life.
What a guy.
Man, absolutely.
Changed your life.
He really did. He did. And he didn't stop there either. So, long story short, that summer really just got me locked into being, hey, if you put in the work. I mean, he handed me $5,000 in cash, that summer. I'm 11 years old.
Whoa.
So I fly home and I give it to my mom, and I said, let's go school shopping.
Yeah.
So
let's get some Jordans.
Oh man, I had both up tempo Scottie Pippins. I had like 10 different jerseys. Like I was by far the best dressed kid, and that really kind of catapulted me there. Like I've always loved shoes and clothing. I've always liked to look good, play good kind of thing, and kind of gotten away from that. The past, I would say 5 years. I still have all my Jordans and stuff, but that's not really my forefront of importance anymore. But I was really cool to be, in school, and I have like everything everyone wanted. So we moved to Hawaii. I'm 14. Grandpa comes out to visit us, and he comes in the room. I'm sitting there, and of course,
So it's been 3 years.
Yeah, it's been 3 years. I'm 14, and he's like, "Well, what are you doing for money?" So, what do you mean? I can't get a job. I'm only 14. He's like, "Well, there's something you can do, especially in Hawaii." I was like, "What's that?" He's like, "Let's go." So we go to Walmart. He buys a lawnmower. He buys a weed eater, 2 gas cans, the mix, all that stuff. He's like, all right, let's go. So we get it all set up, start walking down the street. I'm like, what are you doing? Go knock on that door. So he's
door to door.
Yeah, door to door. And I would go out Saturdays and Sundays. And as a 14-year-old, I was making $500 a weekend.
Wow.
Just knocking door to door. I had people that were on weekly schedules.
Yeah.
And he's just like, this is what you're going to do. So it's funny. We buy all this stuff. We do the first day. I make like $300 the first day.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to do half of the stuff. He's just telling me what to tell them and what to ask them and all this stuff. He was like, I'll weed eat while you do the mowing for the first week. So I made like $300. It's like, all right, cool. Give me my money. And I was like, what? And he's like, I just spent $500 on this, so you're going to have to pay me back. And then you're into profits. So another life lesson, right? Hey, you got to pay stuff back. You got to pay stuff off, all this stuff. So yeah, that really got me, and then eventually I get tired of cutting grass. And then I started working at Home Depot. I think I was 18. Right when I turned 18, I got a job at Home Depot and just kind of, that was that. So yeah. Grandpa passed away about 5 years ago. He, that bay that we used to look out on, and I have, a video, I have pictures of it. My stepdad's a big Patriots fan. So we went out to the last game the Cowboys played the Patriots. I'm a Cowboys fan. Mm-hmm. And then we went to Rye Beach. We went to the bay. We spread his ashes out in that bay because he loved that area. He had spent his whole life up there. He's retired submariner for the Navy. Just all around, just one of the best persons I've ever met in my life. And it was never, what can you do for me? It was always, what can I do for you? So I've taken a lot of from that. I've taken a lot of his mindset and just really dove into it. And anyone that knows me, they know the if I get into something, I'm all the way in. And it's
what was his name?
Ron.
Shout out Ron.
Yeah,
for
Ron
making
Nodak
Nodak Breaks, man.
He really did. I mean, there's a lot more people that helped me get to where I am. My mom is massive in that. There was a lot of things that I dealt with as a kid. Man, I feel like this is going to turn into a therapy session.
No, you're good.
No,
but
so
that's what it takes at a young age.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you go too far down the wrong alley, you can't come back.
There's no coming back.
So when you're at 11, when you're 14, Grandpa Ron comes in and is like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to do it. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
And kudos to you for listening, because there's some kids that are like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then it takes a wrong turn and then you end up hating that guy. But I mean, dude, what a thing to learn at a young age.
No, I was the youth sports director for 10 years, working for the youth center in the Air Force. One of the most underrated things is having a kid that's coachable.
Yeah.
You deal with sports. If you're coachable, you can take over the world.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah. But if you think you know it all already, which a lot of people are like that.
Why do you think that is?
Man, I mean, it's a thing where, parents don't correct it.
Yeah.
Parents aren't, hey, you don't know what you're saying, and when I talk to my daughter, I do a lot of life lessons without her knowing. I feel like I don't get a lot of time with her right now, but when I do, we have those conversations. And, a lot of parents, they love to, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Instead of, this is why we don't do that. This could be the cause and effect. This could be what happens to that person. And like a lot of, kids, they don't know what happens to another kid when they go home. They don't know the life situation at home.
Right.
And then, I was, me and my family we were dirt poor. So we lived in it was basically a hotel that was turned into apartments.
Really?
It was roach infested, flea infested. And, my mom, single mom at the time, she was doing her hardest. And that's where I got my first memorabilia piece. She tried to always make sure I didn't go without. Mm-hmm. Even though we didn't have the best situation, it was all she can do at the time. She bought me an Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman signed picture in 1994.
Let's go.
Yeah. So, that really started my venture with just love of this. And football and video games were my escape. That was what I was able to get away, and even before I was, there was a lot of things that happened that really I had to escape as a kid. So, shout out to single moms out there. It's, but I remember that lifestyle and what we were going through, and I refused to get there. That also was a kind of a pushing point. So a lot of kids that come into money or come into a comfort, as a child growing up, that's where you get the kids that are not coachable. They don't know what the struggle really was. Mm-hmm. It's, when you came from the dirt, you look back and you're like, I'm never going to go back there. So that the coachable thing also comes from that.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get back into the breaks. No, I appreciate that. That was a great story. That's going to make everybody listen to this. Already a lesson learned. Okay. Now you're getting in, you finished off, you were kind of finding a business partner. Mm-hmm. You're kind of coming into your own. Your TikTok lives are starting to take off. Yep. Take us now.
This is where, me and Break Saver really got together and kind of, I would say, catapulted each other. Okay. And shout out to Break Saver. he's out there. I know he'll probably pass on to this and see it. Yeah, we made a plan to really just give the best value, per box on that, and really have if it's not value, at least put, something people want to put in their collection. That was always something for me, is like, people pull stuff out, like, and I'm like, nobody wants that. Yeah, it might be worth $50 for whatever reason, but still, nobody wants it. Like, it's just gonna get tossed around left. And the more that $50 card gets tossed around, because no one really wants it, the value is eventually gonna drop on it. So, we really tag team that, got together, kind of propelled that, and then it turned into, I was doing some memorabilia with Nodak Breaks, that he introduced TRA and me together.
Okay.
And then I said, you know what? Okay, now I feel like it's time. I have 200 to 300 people in my life. Nobody was really doing memorabilia breaks. People had memorabilia, but they were putting them in a break for cards. So it was kind of just like bring people in to get into my card break a little more. Nobody was like, I'm just memorabilia, that I really know about. I'm sure there was guys out there. I know I do, and I was thinking about this last night. I vaguely remember, like, guys would do, like, one of these helmets behind me opened, and they would, like, do pawns, duck pawns, and they would basically razzle off these helmets, open. But nobody was, like, busting boxes open at the rate that me and, at this time, I got this very pivotal point. I bring Chadwick in, and that's a whole nother story.
Shout out Chadwick the GOAT.
Oh, absolutely. And that I tried to call him that, Chadwick the GOAT, in the beginning, but he didn't like it. So,
why?
I don't know. Like, he's humble. Yeah, but it's that was a real pivotal point, bringing in Chadwick, and I had Chadwick come in to set up my computer stuff, all the nerdy stuff. I'm not privy to that. I am now.
Dude, this setup you have is amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, 4 huge, you got what, 6 monitors in here?
No, it's 4.
It's 4? Okay.
They're massive. They're 49-inch,
Dude.
Yeah, it's, when we're live, there's all these different screens we both kind of need. He sits on your side where he has his, I sit on my side, I have mine. But it just makes it a lot smoother. Instead of clicking through a bunch of windows on one monitor, we have, 4, we could even have 6 windows up at one time. So we use 4, we do close out, like, the music and all that stuff. But yeah, especially when we go back to eventually TikTok Studio through the computer, this is super pivotal for just making sure everything's going the way it should be going. So yeah, at this time, I had Chadwick come up from Utah, get my computer stuff going. He goes back. It's funny, I'm driving back from National, where I had met my new business partner, and I called Chadwick, and he's never been into breaking. He doesn't know anything.
So you guys were boys before this?
Yeah. So okay. I've known Chadwick 14, 15 years now.
Okay.
So I met him. We played football together on base for, like, the base or intramurals.
Okay.
Mutual friends, met him there. Then we got into Call of Duty. My wife at the time deployed, and, like, to stay out of trouble, I play basketball, I work, I come home, I play Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. So that was my life for the whole 7 months she was gone. Me and him played every single night. So
awesome.
I knew he had the kind of awareness and the wittiness to be, a streamer. And then I kind of stumbled upon him as a gaming streamer. He was going by Toxic Terry. It's pretty funny. So yeah, I was like, hey, I call him. I was like, I know you have a really nice government job. He was a contractor, really, doing really well. Just bought a house out in Utah. I said, listen, I know this is going to sound crazy. I want you to come to Minot, and I want you to stream with me when I already knew it. It's one of those things where I believed it, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to need more help. I can see it before it happens, kind of thing. So he's like, oh man, I don't know. Like, so I was like, just start watching the stream, just see how it goes. You let me know how much money I need to pay you every week to make sure your bills are good, before I say, yeah, come on out. Mm-hmm. I feel comfortable saying I can give you that. So yeah, we just started taking off. And then before he comes out, I bring in like 10 black boxes. Remember the black boxes, the 3 pieces? Well. I bring those in, gone that night. And then that's when
I probably helped you.
100%. Yeah. No, absolutely. More than likely. That was the switch where my new business partner was like, oh, okay.
This is real. Yeah.
And then Chad was like, okay, cause that's, $8,000 in sales.
Yeah.
At the time that was redonkulous to do. Like, and again, nobody was really ripping memorabilia and it just turned into all right, I like cards, but I love memorabilia.
Me too.
And as you can, I mean, you guys really can't see what's behind me, or what's in the other rooms. I think you'll do like a little.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do a tour.
But it's I love memorabilia. It's an obsession, damn near. And it's like I'm like a little kid on Christmas. Like I always kind of have a helmet incoming from either a trade or another breaker I got into.
That's what I like about you.
Yeah,
I love watching a live. Like honestly, Nodak, I was going to tell you this, but like I need to thank you because all my buddies, like if they want to buy into a break or something, they'll just pay me and then I'll buy in for them. And then we'll like watch the live.
Yeah.
Because it's a gamble. You know, it's basically a gamble.
Yeah, 100%.
And you're waiting to see if your card will get pulled or if you just, and what I tell them is what I do is I just buy the box.
Yeah.
Like it's fun to do like the $50 pick your team, whatever.
Yeah.
But buy the box for $450. You don't know what you're going to get. And if you don't like it and it's something sick, he'll trade you for something you do like.
Yeah. I mean, not always, right?
Not always. Yeah, I shouldn't say that. But
I'm still picky on I have a vast amount of guys, but I like old school guys.
You're old school. Yeah.
I like old school. Because again, when you think about old school, like, you know, value's not going to diminish. No. They're not going to get injured. I mean,
traded.
You could have an OJ situation, but when that happened, you know, and as a kid, I remember that happening. His prices on everything skyrocketed.
Yeah.
He's getting chased down by the police in this situation, and everything. Like his rookie cards were going. I had a guy downstairs because I collect football cards back then. He comes knocking on my door. Hey, do you have any OJ Simpson rookie cards? And I was like, yeah, probably. Like, you know, and I sold one of them for like $200 before he even got arrested. You know, like it was like, that's how I didn't know what was happening, and I kind of felt slighted. I don't think that card's worth that now, but you know, at the time. You know, but yeah, I've always collected, you know, in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, so for old school guys, unless they turn into something very bad, or you know, we don't get too dark on it, but their value's not going to drop. And if anything, you know, I have, you know, this Jim Brown right here. You know, he's never going to sign another helmet again.
No.
So that, you know, that's a big piece for me.
Well, the visor on that's so sick.
Yeah, no, I like. Yeah,
that visor is sick.
There's a group on Facebook that does custom visors. I probably need to get a hold of them to kind of see if they can just get us some made, because we pull. You know, I know who's coming in these runs, and you know, that's another whole venture that we can go down. But yeah, I like those custom ones. Most of mine have the Oakley visors because that's what they wear on field. And I just think it looks really clean.
Well, like some people don't understand. Like I was trying to explain to a few of my friends how there's replica helmets.
Yep. There's
like the speed. There's with the visors, and like the replica helmets are cool. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But there is something very, very great about like what the ones you're sitting behind you, the ones they actually wear. They're heavy. I get that.
Right.
Like you can't really mount them on a wall like with those little wall mount things. But I mean, like you have them set up is perfect.
Yeah.
But some people just don't understand that part of the game because they'll see like, oh man, like a Terry Bradshaw signed Steelers helmet on eBay is for like $1,200. I'm like, okay, what kind of helmet is it?
Right.
First things first. And who is it? JSA? Who certified this?
I wouldn't say. I would make sure it's certified for sure, and you want to make sure it's one of the big ones. I wouldn't say the certification, as long as it is a real helmet. You're right on par though with the you know, the rep helmets. You know, for those that you don't know, a replica helmet's basically just the shell. You can't wear it. There's a little plate inside to make sure you can't put it on. It does feel like a shell.
Yeah,
it is authentic.
It's very light.
NFL makes these for just display pieces.
Yeah,
and that's what these pieces of art. Display pieces, however you want to say it. So it's a great entry value for, you know, someone getting into the hobby. Okay. Like I remember, I'll never forget it either. My first non-Cowboys helmet was a T-Law rep lunar helmet. And I had traded someone for it and it was coming in. I was so excited. And I do talk about this every once in a while. And they're like, Nodak was excited to get a rep helmet. I'm like, in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I traded that for, you know, something. And then that turned into obviously a authentic helmet because, you know, I personally, all my helmets are going to be speeds and speed flexes right now. And those are the ones that, speeds are ones that they were wearing probably, I would say 5 years ago. And that kind of got into the speed flex. Now you have F7s, you have Axioms, you have Vicus, you have all these different brands, you know, that are just way better, but also really expensive. Speed flexes were the first ones that came out that were a lot safer. That front plate flexes in.
Where they flex in, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's and then even the padding is really upgraded.
What do you think of these like self-colored ones that they're coming out with, like that JJ McCarthy one I got from you? Like, what are your thoughts on those ones?
So customs in general,
like custom colors.
I'll be honest. At first, I was not a fan.
Me neither.
I wasn't. but there's just something about a very well done piece.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite artists out there, Nubs is probably my favorite. He does like a sketch. I don't have any yet. I'm probably going to send him the triplets. I'm going to have him do like Troy Aikman, Emmett Smith, Michael Irvin. And just that'll be just like a prize piece that I have sitting underneath my TV over
Hell
there.
yeah.
But it's almost like a sketch of the person. It's like a silhouette with some detail, and he does really great work on ripped painted helmets. Pulsar is one that I just got one of my helmets in yesterday. Where is it? I don't know where it is right now. It's a Big Ben, which I never had a Big Ben. Kind of was on the, I like retired players. He hadn't been gone long enough at first when I first started doing this, but probably the most beautiful helmet I've ever seen. So painted helmets, I'm very picky on, but it depends on the artist. I love Hydro Dip. I love chrome helmets.
Yeah.
So all these customs that came out, at first I wasn't a fan because I'm a purist. I love that. But then I start opening them up. I'm like, oh man,
these are sick.
Yeah, these are sick. So I mean, obviously a lot of these behind me are going to be customs, but I love NFL license colorways, the Lunars, the Eclipse, the Slates, the Salute to Service. There's so many flashes, so there's a lot of options already that NFL offers. But yeah, I mean, one of a kind pieces is really cool to get your hands on like that. So it's grown on me. I think it's grown on everyone, and the excitement's there for it. I actually have another line coming out that's going to be only painted helmets.
Oh,
so that's going to it's a brand new company. We're dubbing it EOD. So,
okay.
It's kind of the first time anyone's heard about this outside of this. But the company's up and running.
Okay.
I'm not sure when this will be released, but probably around the same time this is released, and we start putting out clips of this, I'll be either having it incoming or I'll be ripping it already. So
sweet.
Very exciting.
Like you have this following where I follow a little bit, and finally I kind of catch a rhythm on what you're doing, you and Chadwick. And then our mutual friend's like, okay, you need to watch it now because there's 6 spots left. And there's a Tom Brady or a Patrick Mahomes in one of those 6 spots. And that's where it gets interesting because then people start doming. You start selling out rather quick. And when you sell, just so everybody listening, like he sells individual teams. So if you're not the first person in there to get there, like the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Kansas City Chiefs, you lose out.
Right.
So you're done.
Yeah.
And there's a Brady coming the front. And then, there's 6 left, but we haven't pulled a Brady. Now there's only 3 left. Okay. Oh God, we're really in now. And then you usually pull it. But like, dude, it's suspenseful. Like it's honestly like who can click the cart fast enough.
Man, I'll tell you what. I mean, we'll get back to my following here in a minute. But yeah, the guys that are in my room,
they have it down to a science.
They really do. They are so fast, and it's funny because I'll be in other breakers' room, and I'll be like, I know products. I'm watching. All right, I know this team hits a lot. They're still sitting there. They're a good price. I buy into breaks all the time.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I'm on a backup account. It's funny. I hit that Barry Sanders chrome helmet there in another room, and they messaged me on my backup, and they're like, "Hey, sorry, this took an extra day to fill, but you hit this sick helmet. Where do we send it to?" And I'm like, "Well, they're gonna know who I am now."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, do you know who this is?" And they were like, "No." I was like, "It's Nodak." And they're like, "What? No way." I said, "Yeah." I was like, "This is I just don't. I don't want people like It's funny because people are like, where do you get these helmets from? I was like, I get into breaks. I'm just on another account that no one. I mean, if some people know
undercover
who it is. It's kind of undercover, and then it turns into, are you going live tonight and all this stuff? And I don't want to like promote myself in other breakers' room. That's a real big pet peeve of mine. Man, I lost track how we got there.
We were just talking about like how Tom Brady and the following, they kind of cut down
so signs. I'm trying to buy these teams in these rooms, and these guys are smoking me. And I was like, man, so obviously Apple Pay, you double click, but even then, like
Venmo is not quick enough. I found out the hard way.
No, it's Apple Pay. I want to say it's Apple Pay always wins.
Okay.
Apple's better than
Apple
Android.
Is better. But you can't go live on TikTok Live off Mac products.
No, but I'm saying when you're buying it, you just tap it on there. You just tap it, you just double tap, and it's paid for.
Yep.
But what I figured out, and man, I'm probably gonna have a lot of people that are mad at me. For those of you that are getting beat in this constantly, have the item in your cart before it opens, and literally you just hit, as soon as it opens, you just hit pay.
Yeah.
Double tap, and it's yours. I think that's what they're all doing. And I do that as, I've never been able to get those guys and get the Tom Brady chase in the room. I've always had to trade for my Tom Brady's because, and I really tried to tell, like yesterday we were live. The NFC South was live in the jersey. And I said, hey guys, like someone please at least buy that so I don't hit a Brady in my life, because I was trying to close it out.
Yeah.
We had a long week. I think we streamed for like 8 hours yesterday. I was like, I'm done. I'm ready to start my weekend, which is just today, Sunday.
And doing a podcast.
I mean, yeah, I always end up working. It's
Yeah.
never, if you want to be successful at this, and every breaker knows this, you're never really off. You're always, either planning in your head, getting some cleaning done, organizing and stuff like that. But yeah, so yeah. So not wanting to hit Tom Brady in my own room has become something, because I do want those really big pieces to go to other people, of course, and then the animosity that comes with possibly hitting something. And even then yesterday, I'm begging them to close the breakout. Like, guys, please just take the last two. I was like, every time it's funny. I said it every Saturday. You guys make me finish out a break, and then I win.
Yeah.
And yesterday was no different. Yesterday, the Peyton Manning came out. Nobody wanted the AFC South, and I'm like, so by the time this probably gets out there, I'm already going to give it back to my guys anyway. So I'm going to figure out a way to get it to them, because that's kind of a big jersey to be like, oh, you guys didn't want it, haha. You know? So I would say I do a lot of giving back to my people, and you had kind of brushed on the my following, and man, I would say I probably have 40 people that are always in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And for 2 years, it's just been constant rotation. People get in the hobby, they get out of the hobby. But I have, for the past year, I have a very solid core of people that are always there to support and hang out with us. And, we love those guys for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tight-knit community in the chat, and you have moderators and stuff that help you out. But, dude, we've been at this for 40 minutes already. Already. This has been 40 minutes. Swim Lessons, Nodak is a podcast about overcoming tough times. You talked about your grandpa and how he did a lot of things for you. Yeah. But leave us with something. Leave us with something where the listener can make it applicable to his or her life, and something that you look and tell yourself when you're in that dark room trying to get out. Yeah,
it's that dark room. Don't get comfortable, and being comfortable in life, that's dangerous. Never be comfortable. Always step out of your comfort. For me to walk away from a government job to become a breaker, everyone said I was crazy. But I'll be honest, my life has changed. Stepping out, taking that pill, what was it, the red pill or the blue pill, whatever it was. Once I took that pill, my life changed forever. So don't ever get comfortable. Step out of your comfort zone, and go take over the world.
I love it. Appreciate it. Give us a quick plug where people can follow you.
So Nodak Breaks, Nodak_breaks on TikTok. It's kind of my main one. I got a link tree in there if you want to follow on all of our other socials that we're kind of building up in case TikTok gets shut down.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I think there's too much money on the table for it to happen. I mean, I'd be foolish to put all my eggs in one basket, but I really can't see. I see someone stepping in and buying it at the last second, if that's what it comes down to. But I also, with the new administration and what they've spoke on about it, if it does get shut down, it won't be for long. I think the 19th is the shutdown date. The 20th is when we have a new president. And that president said, hey, as far as he's concerned, there's no reason to take down TikTok when Facebook and all these other guys are 10 times worse.
Well, another thing, like I did a few TikTok lives just like I'm trying to broadcast. So I like broadcast the NFL game just like the last 3 minutes to like tell different people if they can't watch. And I got a pretty big following, but like it jumped from like 400 to 100 and then like 200 to 25. And it was just up and down. And me and you were talking about this, but I was talking to another guy who does a lot of TikTok lives out of Crosby. He's a DJ, DJ Thunder. He's also the sheriff in our town, but he's like very viral on TikTok. And he was like, Dallas, make sure you have a light on your face. It's very bright. And he's like, go off your cell phone.
Yeah, go off your cell phone.
He's like that because like you were saying, if you have a camera, like they'll kind of shadow ban you almost to a point.
Yeah, I mean, you could see above us all the lights that are there. So lighting is massive for TikTok, and it'll tell you before you go live. Make sure you're in a well-lit place. So TikTok kind of gives you those hints, but TikTok algorithm is so hard to figure out.
It's very tough.
It's tough. It's impossible. And I think they even turn it off time to time just to be like, we don't want anyone figuring this out. So,
do you ever think you'll go to like YouTube or something?
Probably. I mean, the goal was always, with this setup and what I put into it to simulcast. The problem that I feel with that is, everything right now goes through the TikTok shop, and I don't want that confusion So I would have to pull everyone to TikTok anyways. And I don't
Mhm.
know if Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, I don't know if these other entities are really going to enjoy me pulling people from them. Like they're probably going to end up suppressing me as well. Eventually, if it comes to where we can have a website and TikTok's cool with me talking about that, because right now that's redirecting, and TikTok does not like any redirecting. They want everyone to go to their shop. They don't want
Okay.
anyone going to other ways to
Like
pay.
a link tree or something.
Right.
Yeah.
They want to protect the customer. That's
Okay.
where it comes down to.
The biggest question I was going to ask you, are you going to open up an autograph shop in the near future?
No.
No?
I'm
bro.
I know. It's one of those things where I have plans, and you know, me and Chadwick have a plan for something, and it's very top secret right
It's
now.
all good. It's all good.
But there's a lot of things in my future. Having to man a store is not one of them.
Yeah.
I love being live. Let's talk about opening a store, right?
Yeah.
We open a store, you have a brick and mortar. How many people are coming through those doors every day?
Right.
Like realistically, what would you say is a decent number here in Minot?
To be honest, in Minot, the ones I've been to, I would say max maybe 10 to
people?
15.
Okay. When I go live, how many people do I talk to in a 6-hour live?
20,000.
I wish it used to be that.
Well, you're getting like 100,000 likes.
Yeah.
I guess that doesn't necessarily mean that.
Well, one person can give you 30,000 likes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So like last night we had 8,000 people, actual people come into the live. So that's 8,000 people that I get to reach out and touch.
Yeah, it doesn't
and
really
talk
make
to.
sense.
So, I mean, it's, you know, this whole industry is going to be e-commerce. Brick and mortar is really kind of it's going to dwindle away because it's so easy. Think about it. You're in, you know, outside of Minot, there's a store in Minot that sells memorabilia. I'm on TikTok. You're sitting on your couch. Are you just going to jump on TikTok, or are you going to go to that store 2 hours away?
Right.
So it's just, that's where we're going. E-commerce with content is going to take over, and it already is taking over. You know, you have TikTok Shop is starting to really pull from Amazon. People won't admit it, but it is. Amazon is one of the, you know, entities trying to take TikTok down, because what we're able to do, we have, you know, people go on to Amazon to shop.
Mm-hmm.
People come on to TikTok to relax. It turns into, you fall into Nodak Breaks Live. Hey, I love football, common interest situation. What's going on here? Well, now you got a Tom Brady helmet coming your way because you were like, F it, I'll give it a chance. And, you know, it could be any team, any person, but it's opportunistic. It's, you know, it's entertaining. You know, Amazon's not entertaining.
Right.
I mean, I have Amazon Prime. I love Amazon.
Oh yeah, me too.
I love their shows, but I only go on to Amazon if I know what I'm getting. I'm a man also, so I go on there. I know what I want. I put it in a cart. I buy it, and I'm gone. I'm on TikTok just scrolling. I honestly, I've seen a few things. I don't know. I'm probably going to plug another company here. There's these ratchet straps out there.
Okay.
You basically like pull a lever and they retract into themselves.
Really?
So it makes it really easy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think they're rhinos or something like that. But I was just scrolling one night. I haven't bought them yet, but I'm going to, because I love ratchet straps. It's a weird obsession. And I see this and I'm like, all right, well, how good are they? I'm like, they look very durable and stuff like that. But that's another reason, like, I was just scrolling and now I'm very interested in buying this item that I really didn't know about until I saw it on a TikTok live. So, I mean, there's tons of items out there. There's tons of things to do.
Yeah.
You know, even outside of what I'm doing is very niche.
Yep.
And the next step is to walk into something that's, you know, again, it's an idea that I had. I've talked to me and Chadwick are very excited for it. But it's going to be something not memorabilia.
Oh.
Now I'm not abandoning memorabilia
Right.
by any means, but this is niche. What we're going to step into is probably one of the biggest industries. Now I'm waiting on approval from TikTok. I'm waiting on a few other things, but super excited to see if we can do this and take this next step.
Oh, now you got me excited.
You should be.
I got one more question.
Mhm.
So say you're a guy like me
Mhm.
and you listen to this podcast. You're like, okay, hey, I want to get into brakes. This sounds like a good thing. What would be step one to get into brakes?
Well, I guess we haven't really walked through what a brake is yet, have we?
No, we haven't.
So,
Hey, should we pause this? These cameras just stopped because they're overheating.
Yep.
Should we take a quick pause?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back. All right, where were we? Okay, so we were talking about how can a guy, if you're like me, want to get into brakes? Go ahead.
yeah, so we were going to break down what a brake was to start.
Yeah.
So I have here, it's just a jersey in a box, comes sealed, from this company, Fire Factory, authentic, 100% authentic jersey. Little plug for Fire Factory there. So what we do in most cases for most of our stuff, we also have all the helmet boxes by them as well. We'll sell all 32 teams. At that point, we'll open the box. Whoever has that team, they're the ones that get the item. So it's we take the box, we split it 32 ways in that situation, and it makes it cheaper to get maybe just your team. Some teams are more expensive than others, and in the case of Patty can come out,
Chiefs
Brady can
are
come
always
out.
gone.
Yeah,
They're always gone.
Teams go really quick, but that does make those other teams a lot cheaper in that same stance. But they can also hit as well. So it is a gamble. It's one of those things where I think we talked about this briefly in our break. Don't get into this with anything that you're not willing to lose. You can get carried away really quick with chasing your team, because sometimes that chase leads into a dark place for some people. So just be smart about it.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. What's the feeling though and this will be my last one. I'm not going to bug you with any more else, but like when you're breaking a box and you're like, oh man, this could be the Brady. Yeah. And then I notice on your lives, you like open the box and you're like, oh, and so there's like a little sticker where you can tell who it is.
So for the other product that we used to do, not anymore though.
No, not anymore.
Yeah. Huddle Hits we do. There's a sticker on the bottom. Fire Factory, I don't know. I literally have to put it on a table and I'll take a peek in the bag. And even then I'm not sure until I get that auto. I have sometimes I even have to look it up. If I've been opening so many new players from this Fire Factory runs that I've never seen before. And it's like, I think I know it. Yeah. And I have the list. I'm like, I have never seen this auto before, which is really cool and fun and exciting, because after 2 years of doing something, to still do something you've never done before or see something you've never seen before, it's really cool.
It's like Christmas every day.
I tell people I feel like the reverse Santa. I get to open everyone's Christmas presents for them, and then I ship it out to them. So yeah. There's nothing like opening. Doing this for a job has been such a blessing. It's so fun. A lot of work. But when I'm live, I don't feel like I'm working. Even with this conversation, like I love talking about it. Like you said, like, hey, that was 40 minutes already. I was like, what? I just love this. It's great.
It's the best. Well, listen, man, we'll have to do this again if you're
Absolutely.
down. Love to do it again.
I think there's a lot of content that we can create together on this, and I think we can open some eyes on a lot of things. Yeah. I think we can really educate a lot of people on, further. Just if it's on, like you said, the rep helmets, the authentics, the speed flexes, I think there's a lot that can be done with it. Yeah.
Everybody out there, download TikTok and get on Nodak Breaks.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother. That's a wrap from Nodak.